Good afternoon. This is the October 30th, 2025 Zoning Board of Adjustment regular meeting. My name is Matt Perry, and I'm chair of this board. I will now call this meeting to order and ask the clerk to call the roll so that we may verify the presence of quorum.
Callahan is absent. Eichholz.
Here.
Grants-Korsch.
Here.
Hutchins is absent. Ingram.
Aye.
Smikarova is absent. Wong.
Here.
Chair Perry.
Here.
There are 5 members present.
So let the record show that we have quorum. With that, we'll proceed to our agenda, a copy of which was posted to the public for public access to the city's legislative information management system, available at lims.minneapolismn.gov. Is there a motion to approve this agenda?
So moved.
Second.
It's moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any against indicate by saying nay. That motion passes and the agenda is approved. I believe all the board members have seen a copy of the minutes from the October 16th, 2025 Zoning Board of Adjustment meeting. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second. There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All against indicate by saying nay. Any abstentions? And that motion passes, and the minutes from the Zoning Board of Adjustment October 16th, 2025 meeting are approved. A reminder to applicants and others that if you're going to speak at the public hearing, please sign in on the sheet available from the clerk and speak clearly into the microphone. If you have not signed in yet, you can do so on the way out. Also to applicants and others, please contact staff after the hearing with any questions you may have about your projects. I will now review the agenda, and I'll read the agenda number and address of the project and state whether it's slated for consent, continuance, withdrawal, return, or discussion. Let the record show that board member Callahan has joined us, and since we haven't gotten into the meat of any of our items, she will be able to vote on them. So let me just describe what discussion items are. These are items for which the board will take public testimony, deliberate on, and make a decision. After the public testimony has been heard for each particular discussion item, I will close the public hearing for that agenda item. Once I close the public hearing for an item, no additional public testimony will be taken, but staff may be asked to address board questions. After the public hearing for an item is closed, board members will then discuss and act on motions, and the chair does not vote except in the case of a tie. So we have one agenda item on our list today, and that is 4709 Park Avenue, and this is a discussion item. So before we get to that, I would like to introduce Amber, who has joined us. And Amber, maybe you can just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, it's nice to join the Zoning Board of Adjustment as clerk too. My name's Amber Sinatra. I've been clerking here for about a year now, along with Paul, and I'm excited to join. Thanks for having me.
Great, welcome. We're glad to have you. Okay, so let's go to agenda item number 4, Mr. Carrier. And before you start, just for the public, the staff does a presentation, then we open the public hearing where the public can talk, and then we close the public hearing and then discuss motions and issues that may have come up from the testimony that we hear in the staff report. Okay, Mr. Carrier.
Thank you, Chair Perry, members of the board. Welcome, Amber. Good afternoon. I'm Ben Carrier, a city planner in the zoning administration. Item 4 is a variance request to reduce the interior side yard requirements for from 5 feet to 3.1 feet to allow for the construction of a single-stall attached garage for the residents at 4709 Park Avenue. The property's in the UN1 Urban Neighborhood Zoning District, the Interior 1 Built Form Overlay District, Airport Overlay District. It's in the Field Neighborhood and in Ward 8. It's a 4,789 square foot interior lot with a single-family dwelling and attached garage that faces the rear lot line. The structure was originally built in 1933, and the lot is surrounded by low-density residential dwellings and has a public alley at the rear. The existing attached garage is 10.9 feet wide and connected to the alley by a 9.6-foot driveway. The front corner of the existing house is 3.2 feet from the north lot line, and the rear corner of the attached garage is 2.7 feet from the north lot line. The neighboring house to the south was also constructed in the required interior side yard, as you can see in the survey on this slide. Okay. The applicant is proposing to replace the existing attached garage with a new single-stall garage in a similar location and a mudroom addition at the rear of the house. The proposed garage would be 14 feet wide by 27 feet deep, and it'll still face the rear lot line. It'll be further away from the north property line than the existing attached garage is at 3.1 feet away, but still located in the required setback, which is 5 feet. The proposed garage will match the primary exterior materials of the house, which is stucco, and will otherwise maintain compliance with other requirements in the zoning code. All right. So, yard requirements in the zoning code state maximum interior side yard for buildings less than 42 feet tall, and the urban neighborhood zoning district is 5 feet. This the section that discusses required yards also discusses permitted obstructions in required yards. So the required side yard may be reduced for detached accessory structures when the structure is located in the rear 40 feet or 20% of the lot and at least 10 feet away from the habitable portion of the principal structure on the adjacent property. The zoning code also establishes standards and rights for non-conforming structures and uses, and states that a single-family dwelling non-conforming as to side yards only shall have all the rights of a conforming structure, provided that the structure is not located closer than 3 feet from the side lot line, and provided further that the structure shall not be enlarged, altered, or relocated in such a way as to increase its nonconformity. So the existing house and attached garage is less than 3 feet from the interior side lot line, and so it does not have nonconforming rights to rebuild the proposed garage in the required yard. A new addition to the structure must comply with the applicable yard requirements and be at least 5 feet from the lot line. The proposed garage will be 3.1 feet from the lot line and requires a variance. Staff, at the time of this hearing, did receive one public comment from the owner of 4705 Park Avenue in support of the variance request, and that should have been forwarded on to you for review. All right. So for any variance request to be granted, applicants need to meet all 3 required findings. The first being that challenges exist in complying with the ordinance because of circumstances unique to the property. Staff acknowledged that the legal nonconformities of the existing structure resulting from its construction in the required yard in 1933 does represent a unique circumstance that was not created by the applicant. Aside from the nonconforming structure, the subject property has typical platting and no unique circumstances creating challenges in complying with the ordinance's yard requirements. If the house was not closer than 3 feet from the property line, then the applicant could construct the proposed addition along the existing footprint, as long as it didn't increase the nonconformity. But the house is closer than 3 feet to the side lot line, and so the minimum required yard of 5 feet is applied, and staff does not find any practical difficulties with complying with that requirement. So this finding is not met. The applicant did meet the other 2 required findings. Staff finds that the applicant proposes to use the property in a reasonable manner, and the proposed development is aligned with the spirit and intent of the ordinance and comprehensive plan. And staff finds that the proposed variance would maintain the essential character of the locality and would not be injurious to the use or enjoyment of other property in the vicinity. The proposed garage would be only slightly larger and set slightly further from the adjacent property line. And the neighboring structure than the existing garages, but if granted, the proposed variance would not be detrimental to the health, safety, or welfare to the general public. So the first finding was not met, and staff recommend the Zoning Board of Adjustment adopt staff findings for the variance to reduce the required interior side yard from 5 feet to 3.1 feet for the new attached garage, and recommends the board deny the variance request. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you very much for the presentation. Are there questions of staff? I see.
Yeah.
Sure.
Sorry.
Please.
I'm struggling with this just a little bit, so please help me. Right now, there's an existing 1933 structure that for 62.5 years has been 2.7 from the lot line.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so for over close to 100 years, it's been wrong according to our calculations. And I'm struggling with the fact that if the new was built, that would allow this 1.11 inches. I mean, we're asking it to literally be moved 1.11 inches, correct?
Yes.
Okay, for 1.11 inches, I guess I'm still going off on that here. That's what we're asking it to do. So we're asking to move the project 1.11 inches, even though the existing structure, which is only 8 feet larger than the other one, has been standing there since 1933, right?
Yeah, correct.
So we don't give any modification for that age, or the fact that to move a structure 1.11 inches away from the corner could be detrimental to the corner of a structure that's that old. I mean, it could add constructability issues when you have to turn a corner. There might have to be underpinnings now on the corner, as well as that would not have to be done if it was a straight shot, correct? I mean, we don't consider that an issue, the constructability issue of that?
Well, zoning doesn't. The zoning code only establishes the standards for the setback, which is 5 feet here.
Got it. So for 1.11 inches, it could be significantly costly as well as detrimental to the existing structure. Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Ben. Can you go back to the the slide that you were citing, the applicable zoning? Yeah, thank you. So can you just talk a little bit, you mentioned this, it's not the full scope of what the side yard requirements and the nonconformity piece is this the full text in the zoning code, or is this an excerpt?
This is a summary.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I just want to make sure that I'm understanding. So, because based on the summary that you've provided in the presentation, it sounds like it's any single 2-3 family dwelling that's non-conforming. So, but then when you were speaking, you said that because the rear corner is 2.7 feet as opposed to 3 feet, now the full 5 feet is the standard that it's being held to? Can you just talk a little bit about why that is, as opposed to like the 3 feet that's non-conforming, when I would say arguably like half of the house is technically non-conforming under this like part of the zoning?
Yes, thank you. Because the existing structure is closer than 3 feet, that's the standard in the zoning code, that's what's applied. If it were not closer than 3 feet, then the structure could be extended along the same footprint. But because it's closer than 3 feet, it's required to meet the setback.
Can I just follow up on that? But part of the building is within that 3 feet, right? Like it's like 3.1 and then part of the building is less than 3 feet.
Correct.
But we're holding it to the rear corner lot the rear corner as opposed to the front corner. In terms of like what is in terms of this 3 foot, we're really arguing over like centimeters in terms of like, we're splitting hairs essentially in terms of the feet.
True. Yeah, but because a portion of the house is closer than 3 feet, the 5 foot standard is applied in terms of zoning.
Okay, and also I just want to also flag in terms of like the summary again of the text, it says like increasing its non-conformity, but in fact, the proposed project is decreasing its non-conformity.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Any other questions of staff?
Sorry. Thank you again. You've done a great job here, and I don't mean to be pick apart, but I'm just struggling here. So the front, going off of Commissioner Callahan's comment, the front is 3.2, correct?
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I understood that. So the front is 3.2, the back is 2.7, and we are saying that it has to be pushed to the full 5, which is 1 foot 11 inches greater than what's there. Okay.
Okay, I think we have exhausted the questions for now.
Thank you.
And again, thank you for your presentation. And with that, we will open the public hearing, and the applicants can come forward. If you could give your name and address for the record. You have submitted some documents, so we have those, and you
Great.
can assume we've read them. So you get about 10 minutes to talk.
Great.
And if you could hit the highlights, and you can hear some of the questions already that people are asking.
Yeah, no, I appreciate those questions. Hi,
Okay.
my name is Kari Nelson. I'm the owner and architect of K. Nelson Architects, and I'm here representing Tegan DeLapp and her daughter. I think Ben did a great job explaining the issues with the code, and I really appreciated the questions that the board asked here. Those are the exact same questions that we've been posing to ourselves behind the scenes and trying to understand better. I will say this is pretty obscure. It's obscure enough to trigger these questions. It was also obscure enough that prior to issuing for permit, we sent the drawings to someone at zoning that we have a past working relationship with, and he responded that you would be permitted to build back from the plane of the existing setback encroachment 3'1", but within the required 5-yard setback, 5-foot yard setback. So again, I'm not going to say who's right and who's wrong, but this is definitely some gray area where we're getting even different feedback from various reviewers at the city. It felt a little bit like it could be interpreted in different ways. And so I wanted to mention that. So we thought we would proceed with the permit and be starting construction a few weeks ago. But we're here instead. And what our understanding is, and I think that the last few minutes this came maybe to light a little bit more, but to try to simplify it, it's basically the existing, I don't know if I can pull back up that drawing, but I have one here as well. Do you guys have control over that screen at all?
The clerk does, so.
Okay. I can't
If you-
see, it's not on here.
No, if you put it on the white thing.
Okay, great. I'm going to just start. Thank you. I'm one of your less tech-savvy architects. Is that working?
Not yet.
Okay. Well, I'll give it a minute. Who do you see? I don't. Oh, there we go. Okay, I get a little, there we go. Perfect. I think that's fine. You could zoom in a little bit more. I see on the little screen what you're seeing. So this is the existing situation, and Ben talked about this as well. But basically, can you see my pencil? There's a small, super thin, micro thin red line drawn to scale, actually a little larger than to scale. That is where the existing house encroaches on the 3-foot yard setback.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the existing house. Up here in this northwest corner, we're at 3.2 feet. So that is not encroaching on this 3-foot setback. This yellow is the existing garage. That could be demoed without any kind of variance. Demoing of the existing garage is not an issue. Once we demo that garage, we have what I believe is a very valid existing hardship in that the existing house is now 2 foot 10.5 inches, and I did bring this diagram. This is how much it's over the property line, okay? That's 1.5 inches. Or not over the property line, over the 3 foot. If we did not have that 1.5 inches over the 3-foot setback, we would be grandfathered into getting any new garage, frankly, any new construction attached to the house as a 3-foot side yard setback.
Yeah.
But the existing hardship, because this overlaps that 1.5 inches, we then now step back 5 feet, and I think, is it Commissioner Callahan brought that up? And so that was a correct interpretation. You know, whether that part of the zoning code should be addressed in the future is not why I'm here, but I do think that we are shifting that north boundary of the existing garage. We are pulling it back into better conformity by 4 inches. So that was what we felt was our hardship, was the existing house, which we're not asking to modify, we're not asking to change, and that has been there for almost 100 years. We feel it's a reasonable request. It's a single-car garage attached, and I just wanted to make sure that we got a chance to kind of explain some of these diagrammatically, because I do think in the variance application, it can be a little hard to understand that minutia. And this one is quite unique in that the provision that's set up for city properties, when you already are over 5 feet, then you can continue that setback. That provision gets scrapped from this particular property because of the existing house location. So, wanted to be here for any questions. Tegan's happy to answer any questions as well.
So, can you, it sounds like you've studied our process and procedures.
We do a lot of work in Minneapolis.
Yep, so we have to have a practical difficulty, which is among the 3 findings.
Correct.
One is practical difficulty. And it's usually about the property itself.
Yep.
So can you maybe, you've shown your 1.5 inches.
I won't show it again, I promise.
I get that, but can you speak a little bit to the practical difficulty? Like, other than it being kind of weird, if the garage were pushed, what would it be? South?
It'd have to be 5 feet, so an additional, it would have to, is that what you're referring to?
Yeah.
If the variance is not granted.
What happens for your design?
Well, we don't know. You know, there's a few different options this property could take, but a person, whether it ends up being my client pursuing it or not, is what we will be discussing after today. But theoretically, I think you're asking more theoretically, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So theoretically, you could build this exact same design that we have. And you would have to shift it the 2 feet, or it's slightly less than 2 feet, because we're at 3.2. So you'd have to shift it to 2 feet so it meets the 5 foot. You then lose part of your southern exposure, you lose light, you lose access to the back. It would not be something, to be honest, she would pursue because of the fact that then it does encroach into that area. So then the existing garage at 2.7 feet. The other thing that would happen is the farther we move it to what ends up being the south, the farther we shift it to the south, and the driveway then shifts, there's a multiple, I think you can see my pencil here, there's multiple old-growth pines along this way,
Yeah,
and that we have been able to, with this design, maintain all of those. I believe that we addressed that in our write-up. So as that whole thing shifts, you'd have to shift the driveway accordingly and could lose additional trees. So that is, in just full transparency, not something she is considering
yeah,
as an option.
okay. So that's interesting about the impact on the trees. Which, quite frankly, when I read the material, I did not pick up on that.
Okay. I'm glad I got a
I don't
chance to
know if it
reiterate
was
it.
in there and I just didn't see it, but I didn't get that, so that's helpful. Does anybody else have any questions? Yeah.
Thank you so much for your presentation. So when you demo the garage, would you be exposing part of the house structure that exists right now, where it's not an exterior wall? Would you be?
Exposing part of the house structure that's where it's
So, like-
not part of the existing?
Yeah. So say you were to move
Oh,
the
I saw in
garage
that
over.
corner, that
Yeah,
4
in that
inches of
corner.
that corner. Yeah, we would have to because because it is 2 foot 10 and a half there, and we intentionally didn't ask for that as a variance. Perhaps that would have been just as easy of one, was to just continue the 2 foot 10 and a half yard setback, but we did intentionally pull it back past the 3 foot because my understanding, part of the reason of the 3 foot provision is that at 3 feet, you can still get a fire person through there, especially if you have an accessory building like a shed that's tight to the property line. So we did feel like that was a code compliance that we wanted to support. So that's why we did pull it that 4 inches back to hit the 3 feet. We would be exposing then approximately 4 to 5 inches of the existing house, and the builder, who's got a ton of experience with old homes, very qualified builder, I've worked with him for over 15 years, he'll just stucco that, and we have engineering that's already been done. So I like the way you thought about it, because in theory, yes, it's a little bit better for the house to just come right off of that corner and not have to potentially weaken that, but that's something that we will architecturally address and make sure it's taken care of.
Okay. Thank you.
Are there any other comments or questions? Thank you very much.
Okay, thank
Let me
you.
just, can I just clarify? So
Please,
I
yeah.
just want to make sure that I'm understanding the issues of the practical difficulty, because that is what we're actually reviewing. It's the concern for the old-growth trees, it's the concern for the driveway, and the fence would have to be probably moved. It's concern about the loss of light to the south exterior of the existing building, and generally for the constructability issues will be more difficult for, in essence, what you said was 1 foot, 1 inch, 11 inch.
I think you're saying 1 foot 11
Right.
inches, yeah.
Yeah, right, okay.
Yeah, that's all correct. I mean, I think there would be a few more smaller things, but that would be
Can you name those smaller things? 'Cause
Yeah, well, the
'cause
driveway,
more
so where
ticks-
the alley connects to the driveway would have to change.
Okay.
And we call that sometimes a curb cut, or the alley access to the driveway. I think if you did shift it, that additional, let's call it 2 feet for simplification, that additional 2 feet, you are exposing more of the existing house and that corner structure than, that's been used to a little bit more what's called like a shear wall, more structural bracing from the attached garage could be compromised even more, so.
I call that memory.
Memory, yes, exactly.
Constructability memory.
Yeah,
'Cause
I mean,
oftentimes when you take a 1933 structure.
Yeah.
And that you actually alter it.
Yeah.
The fact that it always was having something of substance lean against it, and now all of a sudden you're removing that, you might have to put in some significant extra footings and foundations and rebar.
Yeah.
There that wouldn't have to be done if it was just the 4 inches, so.
Yeah, the vast majority of houses we work on are pre-1950s, and it was a different type of construction that kind of, where it all depended on itself more than something like the post-60s.
Okay,
All right, thank you guys very much.
thanks for coming down. Would anyone else like to speak in favor of this? You don't have to, but if you want to, you can. All right. Let's close the public hearing, board comment, or motions, or whatever. Yep.
Yeah, I would just wanted to speak. Yeah, I think in terms of doing their process, I think the staff kind of the flow chart of things that they had to go through with what the current or how it's written up. I think they did that right, but I think we're definitely in a weird gray area that this wasn't properly accounted for maybe in the in that. So I think we're in a gray area, and I think that's what this board exists for. So I especially with the potential impact of the tree if they were to build it to the conforming how it's supposed to be according to current code, that would probably impact that tree. So I do think that that we should allow for this variance, and hoping that one of you can take a stab at the findings for that.
I'll second that.
Okay, so the findings, I think, were stated by you.
Okay, yeah. To state that, fair enough. Yeah. So I would move to that we adopt findings for that the impact on the tree would be the reason to allow for this variance.
Okay,
Can I second that and add to it friendly amendment?
sure.
Okay, I also think there's a series of other things there that are really critical. One is the constructability of the project, the existing hardship that comes with that, the loss of light, the driveway, the existing connection from the curb cut from the alley, and the exposure of the southern exterior. And I do appreciate the fact that the staff did a great job on this, but I am concerned that this is far different than the project that we looked at last time, which we did not approve them aligning it, but they had a series of different issues here, and I think this is totally different. And so I agree with the fact that we need to approve this variance.
Yes, Board Member Wang.
Yep, I'm going to add the comment that I would second Board Member Eicholz's comment, but I would not support the amendment because we're focused on the property itself, which includes the trees, and not man-made structures such as driveways, existing fences, or these sorts of challenges, but the property itself.
Okay, so what we do in that case is we have actually a motion and a amendment to the motion.
Well, it was a second, but I just added more.
Yeah.
If I may, I think this might be easier if we just keep it to the tree finding, because otherwise I think some of the other things that were introduced were financial considerations, which we're not allowed to also consider, and I think we're all kind of on the same page if we leave it to the existing property and the impact on the tree there. So I'm thinking that might be the quickest route here.
Is there a second to that?
Sure, second it.
Okay. Is there any further discussion on the motion? And with that, would the clerk please call the roll?
Callahan.
Aye.
Eicholz.
Aye.
Grants Korsch.
Aye.
Hutchins is absent. Ingram.
Aye.
Smikarova is absent. Wong.
Aye.
Chair Perry.
I don't vote, except in the case of the tie. And with that, the motion is approved, and your variance request is approved as requested. And good luck with your project, and thanks for coming down. Okay, let's move on. Updates. We have a couple. Rachel is not with us anymore, so we have Paul. And Paul, I don't know if you ever really said who you were. You have been here quite a lot.
Yeah,
But maybe you could just talk a little bit about yourself as well.
I don't think I got such a warm welcome as Amber got when I joined, but no, my name is Paul Nasvik. I joined a week after Amber joined last year, and I've been kind of on all of the night meetings. I now am officially on all of them, and so you'll see me here or with the Heritage Preservation Committee or the Board of Estimate and Taxation, and then during the daytime, during the light, with Audit Committee. So I like being here. It's fun.
Great.
Thank you for having me.
Again, as with Amber, we welcome you. And Brad, do you have any updates for us?
Can we ask, did Rachel leave for the job, or is she with the city, or?
I don't know the status.
I'm unsure about her departure with the city.
So Brad, can you give us any updates you might have?
Yes, Chair Perry, members of the board, we do have an appeal of the decision of the Board of Adjustment granting a variance to development within 40 feet of the top of a steep slope. That was at 2821 Brookwood Terrace at the last hearing. So that will be going to the Biz Committee, I believe, on November 13th.
So there was a side yard setback, which we denied.
Yes, Chair Perry, that was denied, and the
And what's
applicant,
being appealed is the steep slope development?
correct. So the applicant accepted the results, but a neighbor in opposition appealed the decision
Okay.
that granting the development.
Yep.
with-
Great. And lastly, how are we doing on new board members?
Chair Perry, members of the board, we do have several applications, and I'm sorry, it's on me that we're a little bit delayed on this, but I'm in the process of setting up interviews that'll include you, Chair Perry, as well as other members of either council or council aides, as well as a member of the Planning Commission, to make sure that we're covering all of our bases on that. But we do have, I think, 5 applications or 6 for 2 spots. So.
Great. Any questions of Brad?
Yeah, can I just ask, I'm curious, is it going to impact the election depending upon the city council people? Does that make a difference?
Chair Perry, Board Member Grants Korsch. It shouldn't have any impact on that. I mean, traditionally we've had, a council member, even council members who are leaving. It's usually because council is ultimately who appoints it based on a list given to them by the City Planning Commission. It could, I guess, theoretically have an impact next year, but I would be surprised at that point because we vet it broadly, to make sure.
And I would just add, having been through this process several times, it's a very apolitical process, which is not the case for some boards and commissions. We have a small group that meet, as Brad said. I'm one of those people. Then it goes on to the Planning Commission, and then it goes on to the Biz Committee. So it's not really hitting the political people until we've got a pretty solid slate of people to replace us. Great. Anything else? And with that, I'd entertain a motion our meeting is the 13th of November. And with that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.